Alright, time to rank the original 151 Pokemon based only on their Pokedex entries. So what this means is I'm going to look at the Pokemon page, read the Pokedex entry. If I like it, good. If I don't, bad. This is all objective. Completely objective. Here's the list. S to F. That's it. Let's jump into it. Okay, Bulbasaur. There's a plant seed on its back right from the day this Pokemon is born. The seed slowly grows larger. So when I look at Bulbasaur, the first thing I notice is the seed on its back. I love some background in it being born with the seed and the seed growing alongside Bulbasaur. I'm going to go ahead and say B tier for Bulbasaur. B for Bulbasaur. Okay, Ivysaur. When the bulb on its back grows large, it appears to lose the ability to stand on its hind legs. So what we have here is Bulbasaur being born with this cute little seed that grows alongside it that eventually becomes this cancerous tumor that severely impairs Ivysaur, which hurts me. So I'm going to say D tier. Okay, Venusaur. Its plant blooms when it is absorbing solar energy. It stays on the move to seek sunlight. So Venusaur is this walking, ever-changing, photosynthesizing beast. I think that's incredible. I'm going to say A tier. I don't think it's S tier because it's not mind-boggling, but I do think that it is really fascinating and I really like it. So A tier. Okay, Charmander. It has a preference for hot things. When it rains, steam is said to spout from the tip of its tail. So this one falls a little flat for me. Of course, it has a preference for hot things, and of course, steam is said to spout from the tip of its tail. It just feels like fire. I feel like it's not really commenting on, what the point, like the distinguishing feature of Charmander is the tail on fire. So what does that mean? What does it do? Does it use it in any way? None of those questions are being answered for me. So I'm going to go ahead and say D tier. Not a fan. Okay, Charmeleon. It has a barbaric nature. In battle, it whips its fiery tail around and slashes away with sharp claws. So we're remedied a little bit because at least we now know that Charmeleon swings its tail around and uses it in battle. But at the same time, we get this whole personality behind Charmeleon. We see the face and we're able to, see what it's like its nature behind that, and I think that's great. I think that's going to be an A tier for me. Alright, Charizard. It spits fire that is hot enough to melt boulders. It may cause forest fires by blowing flames. This, to me, is a great example of an S tier. Here we go, buddy. I think this is the type of larger-than-life detail that makes Pokemon really exciting, and the type of Pokedex entry that every Pokemon should have. Being able to melt boulders and cause forest fires is something that would be terrifying, which makes it S tier. Alright, Squirtle. When it retracts its long neck into its shell, it squirts out water with a vigorous force. This one, again, I think kind of like Charmander, it falls a little flat for me. This is just kind of Turtle. This is just kind of Turtle with a squirt gun. Squirtle. It's not really helping me out at all. Squirtle is a very vanilla design. And the entry is very vanilla too. I'm gonna say C tier. It's pretty inoffensive, but it just is it's like getting vanilla ice cream. Like, if I went and got ice cream with you and you got vanilla, I wouldn't be upset at you, but I'd be like, is that really what you wanted? Like, you couldn't have done anything better than that? Okay, Wartortle. It is recognized as a symbol of longevity. If its shell has algae on it, that Wartortle is very old. I think this one's fun because it gives Wartortle a little personality. I don't feel like that personality really fits its design because he kind of looks like a little punk. But I think it's cool. The algae growing on the shell is something that's interesting, something that happens over time. And being a symbol of longevity is a really neat fact. I'm going to put it in B tier. Alright, Blastoise. It crushes its foe under its heavy body to cause fainting. In a pinch, it will withdraw inside its shell. So this one for me, I think is an F tier. And the reason why is because you look at Blastoise, right? And the first thing that you notice is it's a giant blue turtle with cannons. But its Pokedex entry says that it crushes foes with its body and it withdraws inside its shell. Why are we not getting any reference to the cannons? What are they used for? What can they do? I'm not really understanding. And I feel like this is a good basis going forward with how I'm going to be ranking things. If the distinguishing feature isn't really explained, or we're not getting any background, then I'm not going to rank it high, because it just kind of, it feels like you could say this about any real life animal and I would believe you, but this is, you know, a fictionary turtle with water cannons on its back, and I just don't understand why we're not getting anything exciting. But that's just my opinion. So, alright, Caterpie. For protection, it releases a horrible stench from the antenna on its head to drive away enemies. So I like that. I like that it's a survival instinct, because for a little bug, I feel like that makes sense. I feel like I want to knock it because it's not super exciting, but what is Caterpie really giving you? It's just a caterpillar. I'm gonna say C tier. Alright, so next we have Metapod. It is waiting for the moment to evolve. At this stage, it can only harden, so it remains motionless to attack. So this is incredibly boring and lame, but again, like Caterpies, what can you, I mean, you can't be super upset, because that's the point of Metapod, and that's the point of, you know, a caterpillar transitioning to a butterfly. It's supposed to do this. So I'm gonna put it in D tier. It would be F tier, but it makes sense, and that pushes it up just a little higher for me. So you narrowly escaped disaster, Metapod. Narrowly escaped. Alright, Butterfree. In battle, it flaps its wings at great speed to release highly toxic dust into the air. Okay, this is cool. Another defense mechanism. I feel like I would love to, you know, I don't know, I feel like I would love to know more about the caterpillar transition to butterfly. But, I mean, this is good. This is a C tier, I think. It's not really doing a whole lot for me. It's kind of just a defense mechanism, which isn't bad. It's interesting to read, so. Okay, Weedle. Beware of the sharp stinger on its head. It hides in grass and bushes where it eats leaves. I like how it mentioned the stinger. It's a distinguishing feature. What does the stinger do? Does the stinger, can the stinger like take out a person? And then it just kind of goes into it. You know, it eats leaves. This is a D tier, I think. I think it's above Metapod, but I think it's a D tier. All right. Kakuna. Able to move only slightly when endangered, it may stick out its stinger and poison its enemy. So this is what Metapod was lacking, right? If Kakuna can do this, then Metapod should be able to as well. It can only move slightly, but it will stick out its stinger, and poison its enemy, which I think warrants it a C tier. Okay, Beedrill. It has 3 poisonous stingers on its forelegs and its tail. They are used to jab its enemy repeatedly. So maybe Beedrill has a little bit of an advantage because it's an intimidating looking Pokemon, but just the idea of being jabbed repeatedly by this guy is pretty horrifying. I'm gonna put it in B tier. B for Beedrill. Okay, Pidgey. Very docile. If attacked, it will often kick up sand to protect itself rather than fight back. So I feel like actively avoiding conflict kind of defeats the point of Pokemon, whether it be realistic or not. So that's a minus for sure. I feel like this bird could accomplish a lot more, you know, maybe strength in numbers as opposed to kicking up sand and running away. So I'm going to say F tier. Alright, Pidgeotto. This Pokemon is full of vitality. It constantly flies around in large territory to search for its prey. I feel like it being full of vitality really fits its design. It constantly flying around in search of prey, I think, is interesting and realistic. I think it's a C tier. I don't think it's super exciting, but I think it's good enough to not be any lower than that. Good job, Pidgeotto. Alright, Pidgeot. This Pokemon flies at Mach 2 speed, seeking prey. Its large talons are feared as wicked weapons. Mach 2 speed and wicked weapons as talons. That is the kind of detail that deserves S tier. That's fantastic. I think that if I read about this, like in real life, I would be super drawn in and I would want to see it, which is a good indicator, just as Charizard is, that it deserves an S tier. Alright, Rattata will chew on anything with its fangs. If you see one, you can be certain that 40 more live in the area. So this is just a rat. Like what? Like Rattata is just a rat, yes. But this is just a rat. It's true to rats, I guess. But I'm gonna say F tier. Sure. Alright, Raticate. Its hind feet are webbed. They act as flippers so it can swim in rivers and hunt for prey. So this, I feel like, wins me over because it's not something that you would initially expect when you see Raticate. You would expect more just rat. But instead you get kind of a look into, its hunting and how it might differ from what you expect. And the surprise is welcome. I'm going to say B tier. Alright, Spearow. Inept at flying high, however it can fly around very fast to protect its territory. Okay, so being a bird and being inept at flying high, I feel like doesn't do you any favors. When I look at it, I take it as something that is very protective of its territory, which helps it out, but it's really weighed down by its inability to do the thing that it's supposed to do. I'm going to say D tier. Fearow, a Pokemon that dates back many years. If it senses danger, it flies high and away instantly. Again, same as Spearow, I feel like it flying high and away instantly from danger is just really not doing it many favors. It dating back many years is interesting, but I don't think it's as interesting as Wartortle growing algae on its shell. You can visibly see that in the transformation. This is just kind of a blanket fact. I'm gonna say this belongs right next to its buddy Spearow in the D tier. Ekans. The older it gets, the longer it grows. At night, it wraps its long body around tree branches to rest. Okay, so this thing is 6 feet long and 15 pounds. So if this was to fall out of the branch at night and land on you, it would probably break your neck. I think this one's interesting, maybe for the same reason as Raticate, because it's not exactly something you would expect. It's a poison snake, and learning about its behavior at night is not initially what I would think to be reading. But that being said, I feel like we could know more about it being a poison snake and this rattler tail. I never noticed that. I'm gonna say C tier because it's a cool fact. Something you wouldn't know, but we're missing something. That's not the first thing you think of when you look at Ekans. I'd love to know more about, it being a poisonous snake and its rattler and, how terrifying it looks. So, okay, Arbok. The frightening patterns on its belly have been studied. 6 variations have been confirmed. I like the idea of there being different variations that are studied and vary from one another. It gives more insight into, I think, what Ekans was missing, which was it being a poison snake, and the idea of that. The rattler in this case is replaced by the big markings, and that being explained is actually a very cool detail. I'm gonna say B tier. All right, Pikachu, our boy. Pikachu that can generate powerful electricity have cheek sacs that are extra soft and super stretchy. So I feel like the cheeks are a feature that is easily identifiable, and them being extra soft and super stretchy is really cute. But this is an electric rodent, and I feel like we get a little bit, soft and stretchy cheeks mean powerful electricity, but how powerful? Like, tell me more about this electric rat. I want to know. I'm gonna say C tier. I'll put it like right here. I think it's. I think there could be more with the mascot of the series. It's just not doing it for me. Sorry, Pikachu. Okay, Raichu. Its long tail serves as a ground to protect itself from its own high voltage power. So this is making up for what Pikachu was lacking. It has such high voltage power that it has to use its tail as a ground to protect itself. That's really cool to me. And something that could be like strategic even. I'm gonna say A tier. I really like that one. Okay, Sandshrew. It loves to bathe in the grit of dry, sandy areas. By sandbathing, the Pokemon rids itself of dirt and moisture clinging to its body. So this one feels like Squirtle a bit to me. The design is very vanilla, and so the description is very vanilla. It's inoffensive, but it's like going to a museum and like reading an exhibit. It's fine. It's not bad. It's not, it's not like just a rat or something that is so wildly non-descriptive of the design that it makes me upset. I'll say C tier. Alright, Sandslash. The drier the area the Sandslash lives in, the harder and smoother the Pokemon spikes will feel when touched. So this feels like the exact same as Sandshrew to me. Maybe slightly better because it's, the spikes are a feature that is easily identifiable, and its environment can affect that, which actually does, I feel like, make it a lot better. I'll put it in the bottom of B tier. Okay, Nidoran female. Females are more sensitive to smells than males. While foraging, they'll use their whiskers to check wind direction and stay downwind of predators. Okay, so what I like about this one, Nidoran female, has female in its name, and giving it something to differentiate itself from the male counterpart is good. Using its whiskers to check wind direction, stay downwind of predators is smart. So I'm gonna say C tier. Okay, Nidorina. The horn on its head is atrophied. It's thought that this happens so Nidorina's children won't get poked while their mother is feeding them. So if we're looking at, Nidoking and Nidoqueen in the lines as like kind of a mother-father figure, which I think was the intention, then having an explanation for a physical change that revolves around it being motherly is great. And I think that it makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to say B tier. Okay, Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen is better at defense than offense. With scales like armor, this Pokemon will shield its children from any type of attack. So this is like Nidorina's, but way more awesome. Having scales like armor is just incredible, and it being, Mother Bear in this way and shielding its children from anything, at all costs, I think is super cool, super interesting. S tier. Okay, Nidoran male. The horn on a male Nidoran's forehead contains a powerful poison. This is a very cautious Pokemon, always straining its large ears. This one is, to me, a little worse than Nidoran female. The description of the horn having a powerful poison is good, but it's a poison type. And the horn isn't really immediately identifiable. Like, if I had to picture this Pokemon in my mind without seeing it, I wouldn't think, oh, the horn, of course. It does have very large ears, which I guess I didn't really notice until reading this. It's a little less than what I would have hoped for. I'm going to say D tier. Okay, Nidorino. With a horn that's harder than diamond, this Pokemon goes around shattering boulders as it searches for a moonstone. The horn being harder than diamond is a much better detail than the horn having poison in it, because you would expect it to have poison in it, but you would not expect it to be harder than diamond. That's incredible. If that was a real thing, it would be a fun fact that people say all the time. And it going around shattering boulders looking for a moonstone to evolve, I think is so cool. I'm gonna say A tier for Nidorino. Okay, Nidoking. When it goes on a rampage, it's impossible to control, but in the presence of a Nidoqueen it's lived with for a long time, Nidoking calms down. So he is an angry father, and we don't really, we don't really get a source as to that anger. Hopefully, it doesn't have anything to do with what's going on at home or anything that's going on in his marriage. I do, in all seriousness, I do like the idea that only a Nidoqueen that it's been with for a long time can calm it down. So I'm gonna say B tier for that. It's no, steel armor that's impenetrable or whatever and will protect its kids at all costs. But it's a cool detail that kind of goes hand in hand with what the point of a Nidoking is, and that's to go alongside Nidoqueen. Okay, Clefairy. It is said that happiness will come to those who see a gathering of Clefairy dancing under a full moon. I think this is really cool because it's like an old wives' tale, right? Either it's an old wives' tale, which is so cool for a made-up world, or it's something that actually happens in this made-up world, and that is something that if it happened in our world, we would all want to seek. And I'm sure that an event like this has never been documented, and some people don't think it actually happens. I think that mystery is really cool. I'm gonna say A tier. Okay, Clefable. A timid fairy Pokemon that is rarely seen. It will run and hide the moment it senses people. I feel like anytime the typing comes up, it's gonna be a bad entry. I don't know why we went from something so engaging and interesting, like people seeing grouping together and happiness coming to them just for witnessing it, to it's timid and it runs away from people. I'm gonna say F tier. That's relatively really bad in my opinion. Okay, Vulpix. While young, it has 6 gorgeous tails. When it grows, several new tails are sprouted. Okay, so this is fine. The amount of tails is correct. I did check. And they are probably the first thing you think of when you think of Vulpix. It growing new tails is a good detail. Without that, I think this would be really bad. But it's a good detail because it evolves into 9 tails, and that's a core part of its identity. I think it's okay. I don't think it's great. I think it's fairly inoffensive. I'm going to say C tier. Okay, Ninetales. It is said to live 1,000 years, and each of its tails is loaded with supernatural powers. So just like Clefairy to me, there are some people, there's some people in this world who probably actively search for this. And it's either a tall tale or it's a fact that so few people know about. It living 1,000 years is really incredible, and each of its tails having supernatural powers, I have a lot of questions, but in a good way. I want to learn more. So I'm gonna say S tier. I love that one a lot. Okay, Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff has a top-notch lung capacity even by comparison to other Pokemon. It won't stop singing its lullabies until its foes fall asleep. I think this one's good. Initially, I wasn't liking this one as much because it felt a little bland, but this feels, like a core part of what Jigglypuff really is. And for that, I don't think I can say that it's bad. singing lullabies. It won't stop singing lullabies until its foes fall asleep is also hilarious. I'm gonna say B tier. Yeah, sure, above Nidoking, we'll do that. Okay, Wigglytuff. The more air it takes in, the more it inflates. If opponents catch it in a bad mood, it will inflate to an enormous size to intimidate them. The more air it takes in, the more it inflates. I mean, that checks out. This one feels lesser to Jigglypuff to me. Jigglypuff's idea feels more original. This inflating to an enormous size as an intimidation tactic exists in our, in our world, so it's okay. I'm gonna say C tier. Zubat. It emits ultrasonic waves from its mouth to check its surroundings. Even in tight caves, Zubat flies around with skill. I think what I like about this, I mean, obviously Zubat doesn't have any eyeballs, so it emitting ultrasonic waves to check its surroundings makes a lot of sense. Other than that, it's kind of just a bat. And I know, you can't really knock it because it's just a bat, but it's just not that engaging. And I think what something like Caterpie does better, I mean, Caterpie had an active defense mechanism, which is something that is vital to small little bugs. But this just being a bat, it doesn't do much for me. I'm just going to say D tier for Zubat. Okay, Golbat. It loves to drink other creatures' blood. It's said that if it finds others of its kind going hungry, it sometimes shares the blood it's gathered. This one's awesome. It being like this bloodthirsty vampire is a really horrifying detail, and my favorite thing about it is that it sometimes shares the blood it's gathered, so it doesn't always do it. It just depends on the mood it's in, but I love that it will care for its own if it has the capacity to do so. I'm going to say A tier. Okay, Oddish. If exposed to moonlight, it starts to move. It roams far and wide at night to scatter seeds. I've always liked Oddish. I don't know why. Just this little blueberry boy with grass hair. I wonder why exposed to moonlight it starts to move. I wonder why that's the case. It roaming far and wide at night to scatter seeds is interesting enough, but I don't think that this is mind-blowing, so I'm going to say C tier. Gloom. Its pistils exude an incredibly foul odor. The horrid stench can cause fainting at a distance of 1.25 miles. So what I love about this one is you get a quantifiable amount of its ability and what it can do, and you can apply that. This could like wipe out a city center just because it smells bad, which I think is an S tier. I just think it's so cool. I think it's like that's what Oddish was missing, right? Like this detail is so extreme and you can apply it, and if like again what I've said earlier, like if I read about this, I would be super interested, and I probably would think about it at a later time because of how crazy it is. But Oddish doesn't really make me feel that. So I think this is actually really deserving of an S tier. Okay, Vileplume. It has the world's largest petals. With every step, the petals shake out heavy clouds of toxic pollen. So this is a step down from Gloom, because this I think you would expect, but Gloom's is completely out of left field. The petals shaking out with toxic pollen. It's a poison type, so that checks out. This is fine. It's inoffensive, but it's not a world-shattering thing like Gloom's is. So I'm gonna put it in C tier. All right, Paris. It burrows under the ground to gnaw on tree roots. The mushrooms on its back absorb most of the nutrition. I think that this one suffers a little bit. I appreciate that the mushrooms are mentioned because they have to be. If they weren't, then it would really fall short. But with the mushrooms being so different and so identifiable, I want to know more about them. And I'm just not getting that. They absorb most of the nutrition, but what's really happening here? And I think, we'll probably read that in its evolution. But it falls short for me. I'm going to put it in D tier. Alright, Parasect. The bug host is drained of energy by the mushroom on its back. The mushroom appears to do all the thinking. This one's awesome. This one's fantastic. This is exactly what I was wanting from Paris. And I thought we got it with Parasect. We did. It's just really creepy. The idea of this parasite like controlling this is so fascinating to me. I'm gonna put it in A tier. I think it's really cool. I think it could be S tier. If we got a little bit more detail on the mushroom or of the host even. But I love it. It's great. Okay, Venonat. Its large eyes act as a radar in a bright place. You can see that they are clusters of many tiny eyes. I think that, and the eyes are pretty identifiable. They're not the most identifiable feature, I don't think. We were on the right track with its eyes acting as a radar, but then we kind of lose it and it just becomes a regular bug. I'm gonna say C tier. We almost had something special. If it did actual, things that a radar would do, if it explained that to me and it was able to tell me that, then I would really like it. I'd put it pretty high up. But it just kind of having bug eyes is okay. The radar aspect saves it from being lower. But it's C. Okay, Venomoth. The powdery scales on its wings are hard to remove from skin. They also contain poison that leaks out on contact. This one's kind of scary, actually. Powdery scales on its wings are hard to remove from skin. So if this was flying over a group of people, it would probably be pretty... I would love to know the extent to which the poison is harmful. I think that could bring it up higher. This just needs some more explanation to really draw me in. I think it's good. Tell me more about the scales. How hard are they to remove from skin? What is the extent of the poison? It's just like missing a few things. I'm going to say B tier, though. I like it. Alright, Diglett. If a Diglett digs through a field, it leaves the soil perfectly tilled and ideal for planting crops. So this really has nothing to do with Diglett, but I think it's really funny. And it's just so interesting. I feel like it gives it an identity outside of being a Pokemon. So it's kind of hard to explain. It being able to have something like that that can be used outside of, just like battling, like being a farmer, I think is really funny. And it's a cool detail, and I'm going to say A tier. Okay, Dugtrio, a team of Diglett triplets. It triggers huge earthquakes by burrowing 60 miles underground. So the explanation of a natural disaster, or at least one cause of it, is like an automatic S tier for me. And plus it has a number, giving us a way to like quantify and measure it. Like 60 miles underground and triggers huge earthquakes is crazy for like this little guy who's 2 feet tall. That is an S tier to me. Okay, Meowth. It loves to collect shiny things. If it's in a good mood, it might even let its trainer have a look at its hoard of treasures. I don't think this one's good. And I think the reason why is because the coin on its forehead is the most easily identifiable feature, but we don't get any explanation behind it. Yet we get it loving to collect shiny things. Did it put the coin up there? What's happening with that? I want to know more. But it being true to it, kind of being like this greedy treasure hunter, saves it a little bit, but it just misses out big time on the most important part of Meowth that doesn't get explained. So I'm gonna say D tier. If it wasn't for the info about if it's in a good mood, it might have its trainer look at its treasure, then I feel like it would be lower than that, in F tier even, but it gets saved a little bit. I just think that it was a missed opportunity, is all. Okay, Persian. Getting this prideful Pokemon to warm up to you takes a lot of effort, and it will claw you the moment it gets annoyed. This is just a cat to me. Like, the idea, its personality gets explained, which is good, but it's also just a cat. Like, this is the definition of a cat. And I think it's F tier. That might be a little harsh, because I do like maybe I'll put it higher up in F tier, which is still F tier. But I do like that, you get its personality, a look into its personality. But it's really not like, it doesn't feel like Pokemon. It just feels like a cat. So, and that doesn't help it. Okay, Psyduck. Psyduck is constantly beset by headaches. If the Pokemon lets its strange power erupt, apparently the pain subsides for a while. So this is I think one of the best ones. It constantly having headaches is so funny and so unique and such a weird concept, but taking it the extra step of it being able to unleash this crazy power that silences the headaches for a bit is so funny, and it's really cool, and I'm gonna say S tier. Alright, Golduck. This Pokemon lives in gently flowing rivers. It paddles through the water with its long limbs, putting its graceful swimming skills on display. So this one is really lacking for me. I think it's one of the worst ones so far, especially relative to Psyduck being so interesting and then going to this, which is just nothing. It's just like a swimmer. I think, like with Persian, which is still an F tier, at least we got to look at its personality, but we're not getting anything from this. And I think this is an F tier too. It was really a fall from grace for Psyduck, and I'm sorry. I feel bad. I do. Okay, Mankey, an agile Pokemon that lives in trees. It angers easily and will not hesitate to attack anything. This one's similar to Persian for me. It just is kind of a monkey, which I guess is what Mankey is. But come on, like, let's get more creative, right? We have all these ideas. Like, we have ducks that have headaches and can unleash this power, and we have fire-breathing dragons that can burn boulders, and this is just an angry monkey. It will not hesitate to attack anything. I think that detail moves it up from F. Because the aggressiveness, I feel like, it just elevates it to me. It's really territorial, which I think is better than just being, like Persian, a cat, or like Golduck, a swimmer. At least it's got that going for it, but it's not, it's not like this is a huge leap here. So, in Primeape, it stops being angry only when nobody else is around. To view this moment is very difficult. This is definitely better than Mankey's. I wonder why it's so angry, which I suppose is a good question and a bad question at the same time. Good because I'm wondering and I want to know more, but bad because I wish we really did know more, and I feel like it could flesh it out more. Viewing this moment is very difficult. Makes me think of like why am I spacing on the name? Just like the Penguin documentaries, or like Animal Planet. No, Discovery Channel. I don't know. It's one of those ones. I think it's C tier. It could be better. Like, what's going on with this? What are these about? But it's cool. It only stops being angry when nobody else is around. I think that's funny. And it's alright. Okay, Growlithe. It has a brave and trustworthy nature. It fearlessly stands up to bigger and stronger foes. This one feels really vanilla to me. It's not bad, but it's not good. We learn about, its personality. Brave, trustworthy, it's fearless. Stands up to bigger and stronger foes, which is a good thing. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's good. I think it's a C tier. Okay, Arcanine. The sight of it running over 6,200 miles in a single day and night has captivated many people. This is very captivating. Running over 6,200 miles in a single day and night. I love numbers in the entries because I can measure it out in my head how fascinating it is. 6,200 miles. I'm going to say S tier. That is an extreme. In a single day and night, it runs over 6,200 miles, which I feel like for a lot of the other entries that I ranked high is something I would love to see, something I would pay to see. So I'm putting it in S tier. Okay, so Poliwag. For Poliwag, swimming is easier than walking. The swirl pattern on its belly is actually part of the Pokemon's innards showing through the skin. So the beginning, swimming is easier than walking, really does nothing for me because that's to be expected for a tadpole. The second part is definitely better. Its innards showing through the skin. It gives an explanation to the most identifiable feature. It loses a few points because this is a real life thing. but not too much. I think I'm gonna say B tier, mostly because I feel like this is something. It's the first thing you think about when you think of Poliwag, and hearing more on that I think is cool. Poliwhirl. Staring at the swirl on its belly causes drowsiness. This trait of Poliwhirl's has been used in place of lullabies to get children to go to sleep. This one improves upon Poliwags, because not only do we get an explanation for why the swirl exists, but we get uses for it, which I think is great. It causing drowsiness is really funny, and having it be used in place of lullabies to get children to go to sleep. Like, I feel like this creature at my bedside would not help me go to sleep. I don't see how this would really help, as much as some people would like to think that it would, just because it's, being hypnotized. Nonetheless, I think it's awesome. I think it's an A tier. Poliwrath. Its body is solid muscle. While swimming through cold seas, Poliwrath uses its impressive arms to smash through drift ice and plow forward. This one loses a bit. It's just kind of like fighting type, Solid muscle. Like, that's good. It's fine, but it's not Poliwhirl. Poliwhirl's is much better. I'm gonna say C tier for this one. Abra. This Pokemon uses its psychic powers while it sleeps. The contents of Abra's dreams affect the powers that the Pokemon wields. I think that's really cool. One of the first things that you think about with Abra is that it's constantly sleeping, and its dreams affecting its powers is super interesting, and I think that it's an A tier. Okay, Kadabra. Using its psychic power, Kadabra levitates as it sleeps. It uses its springy tail as a pillow. Using psychic power, Kadabra levitates as it sleeps. Okay. Springy tail as a pillow is not what I would have expected. What is really harming this one, I think, is that we don't get an explanation for the spoon. I hope we do with Alakazam. And maybe the point is for us not to have an explanation, but it's just such a... Again, I've said this over and over, the most identifiable part should be explained in some way, because then you kind of form a connection with it. And here, this is not really doing much for me. I'm going to say D tier. We haven't had a D tier in a while. Well, Mankey, but I don't know. It's a shame, because I feel like this whole line, Alakazam, Kadabra, and Abra, are really cool. But this one falls flat. And then we have Alakazam. It has an incredibly high level of intelligence. Some say that Alakazam remembers everything that ever happens to it from birth until death. Again, we're really not getting the spoons explained. Maybe I'm overthinking it. High level of intelligence, that's fine. Remembering everything is really cool. I'm going to say C tier. It's better than Kadabra's, but for Alakazam standards, I feel like we're not getting as much detail as we should get. Like, what goes on with that level of intelligence and, like, the psychic power? Like, what is it capable of? Remembering everything is good, but that's why it's C tier, because it's not great, Okay, Machop. Its whole body is composed of muscles. Even though it's the size of a human child, it can hurl 100 adults, 100 grown-ups. Its whole body is composed of muscles. That's the classic fighting type, just wet blanket of a Pokedex entry. But being able to hurl 100 grown-ups is awesome. It's measurable, the number. It's crazy to imagine, and that really saves it. It saves it all the way up into A tier for me. Okay, Machoke. Its muscular body is so powerful, it must wear a power save belt to be able to regulate its motions. Again, we have muscular body, so strong, so powerful, but the power save belt being explained is so good, and that moves it into C tier. I think that Machop's is better. Him being able to hurl 100 people is interesting, very interesting, and it's I think more interesting than anything that's going on with Machoke. The power save belt puts it in C, otherwise it would be really low, because this obviously is, you look at it and you think, what is going on here? Why is it wearing a Speedo? And we get a little bit of an explanation for that, which I think is great. Okay, Machamp. It quickly swings its forearms to rock its opponents with ceaseless punches and chops from all angles. I think this is an F tier. Welcome to F tier. It's been a while since we've had F tier. This just feels like fighting type. Like I said that before. I feel like the fighting types are going to struggle with this because it's easy to just say, oh, they're good fighters. This is stuff that, yep, you would expect it. You know, like can it like level a skyscraper or throw like 1,000 adults? It punches and chops with its forearms. Yep. It's a bummer because Machamp there's so much going on here. Even Machoke explained this, which I guess it's already been explained, but the fact that there's nothing further to build upon it, it just really, it's a tough one for me. Okay, Bellsprout. Prefers hot and humid places. It ensnares tiny bugs with its vines and devours them. This is just like a Venus flytrap. Hot and humid places. I feel like most plants do prefer that. I'm gonna say D tier. Okay, Weepinbell. When hungry, it swallows anything that moves. Its hapless prey is dissolved by strong acids. Definitely better than Bellsprouts because it's more horrifying. Swallows anything that moves as opposed to just bugs, like Bellsprout does. And they're dissolved by strong acids. I'm gonna say B tier. Okay, Victory Bell. Lures prey with the sweet aroma of honey. Swallowed whole, the prey is dissolved in a day, bones and all. So it just keeps building. Victory Bell is the best one of the three. Luring prey in with the honey and then swallowing them whole and dissolving in a day, bones and all, is like a whole storyline in a Pokedex entry. Bones and all is such a great detail. You know, this might be S tier. I think it is. I was going to say A originally, but the detail on this one and just the story arc, right? I mean, man, this is just a good one. Okay, Tentacool. Tentacool is not a particularly strong swimmer. It drifts across the surface of shallow seas as it searches for prey. Alright, Tentacool. Plastic bag. Not a strong swimmer. Drifts across the sea. Plastic bag. It has these big old orbs of red and it's poison and it just kind of lazily drifts along. F tier. I feel like I'm getting meaner. Tentacruel. When the red orbs on Tentacruel's head glow brightly, watch out. The Pokemon is about to fire off a burst of ultrasonic waves. This one's neat. I mean, obviously, you know, explaining the red orbs and their purpose as maybe like a warning signal or as like preparation to attack, something like that, like it's charging up or something like that, is awesome. Watch out. I'm gonna say A tier. Geodude, look at this guy. Commonly found near mountain trails and the like. If you step on one, commonly found near mountain trails and the like. If you step on one by accident, it gets angry. Oh no. Yeah, I mean, I'd get angry too if somebody stepped on me. Commonly found near mountain trails. Well, it's a rock. Step on one, it gets angry. Can we? Why? What about the strength of this little rock man? Also, doesn't he like float around all the time? I guess I can't assume that. I'm gonna say D tier. This leaves a lot to be desired. Geodude. Alright, Graveler. Often seen rolling down mountain trails. Obstacles are just things to roll straight over, not avoid. I mean, it made me laugh, so it's gotta win in some way, right? I'm gonna say B tier. It's just funny. That's the only reason why. Looking at him, he doesn't look like he cares about conservation or accidentally rolling over some live creature, which is funny. And it's just great. I think, you know, B tiers. He belongs in B tier. Okay, Golem. Once it sheds its skin, its body turns tender and whitish. Its hide hardens when it's exposed to air. Who cares? I do like the detail of, you know, it being able to shed its skin. Is it, I mean, I assume it's talking about like the rocks, right? Or not? It leaves me confused, which is bad. I don't know, I'm gonna say C tier. Shedding its skin's a great detail, but I have more questions. I feel like it's not giving me enough detail. So, Ponyta. It can't run properly when it's newly born. As it races around with others of its kind, its legs grow stronger. I don't like this one. This is just a horse. So when you think of Ponyta, what do you think? It's a horse on fire. But this makes it seem like it's just a horse. Can we get some more detail on the fact that it's actually on fire? This one hurts me. I'm going to say F tier. Okay, Rapidash. This Pokemon can be seen galloping through fields at speeds of up to 150 miles per hour. Its fiery mane fluttering in the wind. At least we acknowledge the fire here. Galloping through fields at 150 miles per hour is great and very fast. It's not Arcanine fast, but it's fast. Acknowledging the fire is good. Does it catch like the fields on fire, I wonder, with all what's going on down here? Or can it control that? Can it turn the flames off, you know? C tier. Leaves some to be desired. Slowpoke. Look at this guy. Slow-witted and oblivious. The Pokemon won't feel any pain if its tail gets eaten. It won't notice when its tail grows back either. A little vanilla. Both Slowpoke as a design and the entry. Slow-witted and oblivious. Definitely fits his face though. And it's starting to warm up on me actually. If its tail gets eaten, doesn't notice. Doesn't notice if it grows back either. Which really actually makes sense. Yeah, this definitely rose up as I thought about it. I'm going to put it in B tier. Slowbro. Slowpoke became Slowbro when a Shelder bit onto its tail. Sweet flavors seeping from the tail make the Shelder feel as if life is a dream. Life's a dream. Life is but a dream for Shelder in A tier. That's hilarious. And I mean, like, explaining the Shelder is great, and it's just funny. Like, he's equally as indifferent. Which, I mean, clearly, you know, life's a dream because he can just do this whenever he wants. It doesn't matter. And it looks, I mean, he grew to the tail, I guess, right? I mean, that's the point, which is cool. So, okay, Magnemite. At times, Magnemite runs out of electricity and ends up on the ground. If you give batteries to a grounded Magnemite, it'll start moving again. So this guy's battery operated. You'd think that you'd be self-sufficient, but I guess when you're just an orb, 2 magnets, and a few screws, you can't really, you know, be sentient for too long. I'm gonna say D tier, actually. Runs out of electricity, needs some batteries to get started up. I mean, what about magnets? What's going on? Like, what is this guy doing? Like, what about, you know, the poles, the North and South Pole? Come on, he's a magnet. Magneton. This Pokemon is 3 Magnemite that have linked together. Magneton sends out powerful radio waves to study its surroundings. That helps it for sure. It would be F- tier if it was just the beginning, obviously, because it would be nothing. But sending out powerful radio waves to study surroundings is interesting enough to put it into C tier. C tier is the most populated tier so far. F and S are tied. Interesting. Farfetch'd, one of my favorites. The stock this Pokemon carries in its wings serves as a sword to cut down opponents in a dire situation. The stock can also serve as food. Great. The most identifiable thing about Farfetch'd being the stock, you know, it gets an explanation, and it has multiple uses, which I think is great. Using it as a sword is awesome. It has a weapon, which is funny, and then it will eat the weapon with the blood of its enemies. Just caked on, and look at this cold-blooded killer. A tier. I love Farfetch'd. He's one of my favorites. Alright, Doduo. Its short wings make flying difficult. I don't see any wings at all. Instead, this Pokemon runs at a high speed on developed legs. Okay. I would love to know, you know, I mean, it has 2 heads. Does it have different personalities? Does it, do they get along? Are they, like, do they have the same friends? Do they take the same classes? Okay, anyway, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like the 2 heads not being explained it hurts it. It not being able to fly with its short wings, even though it doesn't have wings. D tier. Okay, Dodrio. One of Doduo's 2 heads splits to form a unique species. It runs close to 40 miles per hour in prairies. I did not know that the Doduo splits in half and one of them becomes Dodrio, because if that's the case, then that's really interesting. I mean, one of the heads looks severely disinterested in what's going on, and the other two are ready to fight. So tell me more. I mean, there's a way for them to have 3 distinct personalities, right? But we're not getting any insight into that. So it's better. I think actually it's 2 heads splitting and forming a unique species is really interesting. So does Doduo evolve, or does it, like, I don't know, I have questions. The mystery, I wish I had answers, but the mystery's good. I'm going to say A tier. I don't know what that was. I'm going to say A tier because I think that's really, really unique. Okay, seal. Loves freezing cold conditions, relishes swimming in a frigid climate of around 14 degrees Fahrenheit. So here's an example of when numbers do not work for me. This, I mean, who cares, right? I mean, it's a seal. And this is what it's supposed to do. Again, the design is very vanilla, just like some other ones that we've talked about before. So the description could be very vanilla, but it also could not be. D tier. Yeah. I feel like it's fair. D tier. Dugong. Its entire body is a snowy white. Unharmed by even intense cold, it swims powerfully in icy waters. This is pretty much the same as seal. I'm just going to give this a D tier too. I really like Dugong as well. But I don't know why we're not getting any more detail about, like, you know, its abilities or any numbers. No numbers. Seal had some numbers, not good ones. Let's get some good numbers. Okay, Grimer, made of congealed sludge. It smells too putrid to touch. Even weeds won't grow in its path. It smells too putrid to touch. I don't think those two things, align, but it must be so powerful, the stench, that it cannot be physically touched, which is remarkable. Even weeds won't grow in its path. This might be an S tier. Too putrid to touch. It's really funny. It's just great verbiage, and weeds not growing in its path is just a small, tiny little detail that makes a lot of sense with grammar that I really like. Okay, Muck. Smells so awful it can cause fainting. Through degeneration of its nose, it lost its sense of smell. I feel like under ordinary circumstances, the degeneration of its nose fact would make me really interested, but I just am surprised this thing ever had a nose. I mean, I guess its own smell making its nose fall off is pretty funny. Smelling so awful it can cause fainting is great. It's not as good as Grimer's, which you physically cannot touch it because it smells so bad, but it's still good. I'm gonna say B tier. Shelder. It swims facing backward by opening and closing its 2-piece shell. It is surprisingly fast. Good detail, but I feel like that's just a normal thing. Like clams do that or something, or, I don't know. Surprisingly fast, though. D tier. Cloister. Its shell is extremely hard. Cannot be shattered even with a bomb. The shell only opens when it's attacking. The best part about this, obviously, is that the shell cannot be shattered even with a bomb. That's really extreme defense. I'm going to say B tier. That's just ridiculous. Imagine dropping a bomb on this thing, and it just comes out of the smoke completely unfazed, and it's absolute chaos and terror reigns from there. Okay, Ghastly. Born from gases, anyone would faint if engulfed by its gaseous body, which contains poison. Born from gases. Anyone would faint. I think I'm gonna say C tier. I feel like this makes sense for Ghastly. It being a ghost, I feel like I want a little bit more. I might unfairly judge the ghost Pokemon because they're so unique, especially like in this generation, right? So this is good. I think anybody fainting is just ridiculous. But it's a ghost. Okay, Haunter. Its tongue is made of gas. If licked, the victim starts shaking constantly until death eventually comes. That's horrifying. This is definitely a scary entry. I feel like it fits this scary looking guy. Its tongue's made of gas. Didn't know that. I'm gonna say A tier. Gengar. On the night of a full moon, if shadows move on their own and laugh, it must be Gengar's doing. So Gengar can go into the shadows, is what I'm hearing here. And he just goes in to prank people. Only on the night of a full moon, though, which moves him down. This is fine. I feel like I say this is fine to every single one of these. The creepiness bumps this up. I'm going to say B tier. Not as good as Haunter's because Gengar's just playing pranks while Haunter's out to kill. But it's Gengar. I mean, he's a sweet little guy. Just a real wholesome guy. Alright, Onix. As it digs through the ground, it absorbs many hard objects. This is what makes its body so solid. Not the fact that it is made of rock. I mean, if it wasn't to do that, would it be made of something else? 28 feet long, 463 pounds. I feel like that's a little light. It's fine. I don't know. This one is just C tier. Does anybody love Onix? Alright, Drowsy. If you sleep by it all the time, it will sometimes show you dreams it had eaten in the past. That's creepy. This guy is an absolute creepo. I don't like the expression on his face. But regardless, this is neat. I like how it's like the dream eater. Like that's its, you know. And does this like does it have to trust you for this, or is this like it'll show you like some nightmares? I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I think it's a B tier. Hypno. Avoid eye contact if you come across one. It will try to put you to sleep using its pendulum. F tier. But like here though. Yeah. I mean, of course it will. That's what the whole point is. I mean, tell me about this big schnoz, right? Where did the pendulum come from? What is he doing with it? I mean, I understand, you know, it's supposed to be like, that's the whole point. He's supposed to be the Pokemon that puts you to sleep and like eats your dreams. Why all of a sudden does he have a pendulum? Oh no, Krabby, little crab man. Krabby is perfectly symmetrical. I can't draw a straight line to save my life. Look. Oh, can I? No, I'm not going to be able to do it. It's perfectly symmetrical. It can be found near the sea. The large pincers grow back if they are torn out of their sockets. It's brutal. Also, just a crab. F tier. Kingler. Its large and hard pincer has 10,000 horsepower strength. Holy. However, being so big, it is unwieldy to move. I like this one a lot. 10,000 horsepower. Great. It's a number. It's a good number. Unwieldy to move. I mean, there's a drawback. This is an A tier. Kingler, well done, buddy. Well done, buddy. Voltorb. It is said to camouflage itself as a Pokeball. It will self-destruct with very little stimulus. So he's an angry boy. And the stereotype of him, you know, looking like a Pokeball, I mean, they just lean into it. Camouflages as a Pokeball. It's a C tier for me. Nah, B tier. Electrode. Stores electrical energy inside its body. Even the slightest shock could trigger an explosion. So Voltorb will just explode whenever it wants. Like, it just, you just have to give it the wrong look and it'll explode at you. But Electrode, it requires a little bit of a shock. So I'm glad that I put Voltorb in B because I'm putting Electrode in C. Execute. Though it may look like it's just a bunch of eggs, it's a proper Pokemon. Execute communicates with others of its kind via telepathy, apparently. The wording is so funny in this one. It's a proper Pokemon. Is that because we're doing Sword and Shield and it's like, you know, British? And Execute communicates with others of its kind, apparently. Like, we don't know. We're just guessing. I think this one's just really funny, and that's really the only reason why I like it. I don't think it's that good. I'd love to know, like, I mean, they all have different facial expressions. And this is a cracked one. What's going on with this guy? I feel so bad for him. He's been cracked for like 20 years now. But it's funny, and I mean, they just lean into it looking like eggs. So, Okay, Executor. Each of Executor's 3 heads is thinking different thoughts. The 3 don't seem to be very interested in one another. So this is like Dodrio has 3 different heads. Or like Magnemite, maybe. Magnemite's a lesser example because it's so, it doesn't display any emotion. But, explaining that they're all kind of on a different page and they're not interested in one another is so funny. I wonder what they're thinking, right? I'm going to say A tier. That's really, I almost said S tier. If we had more information as to what each of the heads, like if they had different abilities or if they were thinking specifically different things, I think it'd be S tier because that would be great detail, but it's still really good. Okay, Cubone. When the memory of its departed mother brings it to tears, its cries echo mournfully within the skull it wears on its head. This is so sad. Cubone has always made me so sad. I feel bad for this little tiny guy. Its backstory, I mean, even, if we don't know the backstory, you get a taste of it in this entry, which is just, what is there another Pokemon that like consistently has a backstory like this? I'm gonna say A tier. Cubone's always been really good. I'm gonna say S tier, actually, because that's just so, it's like a relatable thing that like some people who have experienced the same tragedy can relate to. And the emotion, like, this is, you look at it and you think of that, right? That like sticks, like that's all I think about when I see Cubone. It sticks with me because that's like seriously traumatic and it like affects all of them, which is, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But gosh, it's interesting and sad, and it provokes, emotion in my heart. So S tier. Marowak. This Pokemon overcame its sorrow to evolve a sturdy new body. Marowak faces its opponents bravely, using a bone as a weapon. Character development. So the character development caused the bone to fuse to its head. The skull to fuse to its head. That's awesome. Faces opponents bravely. I'm a sucker for a good, for character development. And I'm going to say S tier for Marowak, too. These two are the best. I love them both. Alright, Hitmonlee. This amazing Pokemon has an awesome sense of balance. It can kick in succession from any position. Awesome sense of balance. Good detail. You would need that. This is another fighting type one. It can kick in succession from any position. Yeah, that fits with it. Yeah, but it's, like, tell me about the kicks, its whole thing, the point is to kick. What comes along with that? I don't know, D tier. Hitmonchan, however, its punches slice the air. They are launched at such a high speed, even a slight graze could cause a burn. This is good. Such a high speed, boring. So high that a slight graze could cause a burn, turned great, right? Punches slice the air, like that. I'm going to say A tier. I'm going to say A tier. Okay, Lickitung. If this Pokemon's sticky saliva gets on you and you don't clean it off, an intense itch will set in. The itch won't go away either. So, like, never, ever? The itch will never go away? Like, how long does it take? Like, how long do you have? That makes it really scary, actually. Look how horrifying. That one is also a B tier because that's scary and I don't want that to happen to me. Coughing. Its body is full of poisonous gas. It floats into garbage dumps, seeking out fumes of raw, rotting trash. Raw, rotting trash? Now, those things kind of contradict one another. I mean, maybe not directly. Yep. Yeah, you look at coughing and this makes sense. It's nothing extraordinary. Like, it's not very territorial. It's not very aggressive. It just kind of floats around. It doesn't, cause earthquakes. It's just a C tier. Like, it's good. It's fine. It's all right. It's average. All right, Wheezing. It mixes gases between its two bodies. It's said that these Pokemon were seen all over the Galar region one day. So, this Pokemon is seen all over the region, not really helping it out too much. It mixes gases between its two bodies. I want to know more about the two bodies. Like with Executor, we learned that, the heads don't really like each other. I mean, these guys don't seem super excited in general, but like, what's the relationship? How are they, what made them fuse? Like, what made coughing turn into this? I have more questions than answers. I'm gonna say D tier. Yeah, this is pretty weak. That we're seeing all over the place. So, Rhyhorn, strong but not too bright. This Pokemon can shatter even a skyscraper with its charging tackles. That is, I'm gonna say S tier. That's crazy if you think about it. Shatter a skyscraper with a charging tackle. That's ridiculous. Strong but not too bright. Who cares? I can shatter a skyscraper. That's unreal. Rhydon. It begins walking on its hind legs after evolution. It can punch holes through boulders with its horn. Impressive, but not as impressive as Rhydon. As Rhyhorn. Sorry. I'm gonna say B, because that's still, pretty valuable. It can punch holes through boulders with its horn, but apparently it's not as strong as Rhyhorn. Good thing that it can walk on its hind legs, though. That's nice for him. Okay, Chansey. The egg Chansey carries is not only delicious, but also packed with nutrition. It's used as a high-class cooking ingredient. This one's pretty inoffensive. I want to know more about the egg. Is that like how Chanseys give birth, or is that egg just kind of there? If Chansey was like a good chef, maybe this would be, higher up, because it would be able to use its own egg. But maybe that would be, Chansey maybe wouldn't be too fond of that. I'm gonna say the top of C tier. I don't think it's B, but I don't think it's like down here in the middle of C. So okay, Tangela. Hidden beneath a tangle of vines that grows nonstop, even if the vines are torn off, this Pokemon's true appearance remains a mystery. I love the mystery. I think it's great. I love how the vines just consistently grow and always hide it. I feel like it's a shy little guy. I'm gonna say A tier. I like that one a lot, and that makes a lot of sense for Tangela. Alright, Kangaskhan. Although it's carrying its baby in a pouch on its belly, Kangaskhan is swift on its feet. It intimidates its opponents with quick jabs. This one just feels like a fighting type one to me. I know Kangaskhan's not a fighting type, but intimidates opponents with quick jabs. Like, whatever, Like, a person could do that. I want to know, like Nidoqueen has this motherly instinct and will defend her young, but Kangaskhan just kind of runs around, and the baby just seems horrified. What's the relationship like? I don't know. They could have taken this in so many other directions, but they decided this. I'm gonna say D tier. Horsey. Horsey makes its home in oceans with gentle currents. If this Pokemon is under attack, it spits out pitch black ink and escapes. This one is inoffensive. Defense mechanism, that makes sense. I'm just gonna say C tier. Not doing much for me. Seadra. It's the males that raise the offspring, while Seadra are raising young. The spines on their backs secrete thicker and stronger poison. So why does Nidorina lose the ability to poison while raising young, but Seadra, the poison is stronger? I don't understand that. I like that the males raise the offspring. That's a good detail, and that's kind of true to form with how seahorses are in real life, which I appreciate. I think it's better than Horsey. I think it's B tier. Alright, Goldeen. Its dorsal, pectoral, and tail fins wave elegantly in the water. That's why it's known as the Water Dancer. I don't know. This is just like a fish explanation to me. Water Dancer is a good nickname, and I think it keeps it out of the very, very bottom. What's going on with the horn? That's the most identifiable feature to me, and it doesn't really get any shine. It waves elegantly in the water. It's just a fish. I'm going to say D tier. Sea King. In autumn, its body becomes more fatty in preparing to propose to a mate. It takes on beautiful colors. I'd love to see the colors. Still no explanation on this horn. I guess maybe it doesn't need to have one. I like the changing in seasons. Preparing to take on a mate becomes more fatty. I feel like you're going in the wrong direction if that's how you're trying to take on a mate. C tier. Classic C tier. I'll put it right in the middle. Staryu. If you visit a beach at the end of summer, you'll be able to see groups of Staryu lighting up in steady rhythm. I like this one because it kind of portrays an event that's happening that would be really interesting to see. Lighting up, I feel like that, it gives purpose to the orb here. I'm gonna say A tier. I like that one a lot. Starmie. This Pokemon has an organ known as its core. The organ glows in 7 colors when Starmie is unleashing potent psychic powers. So the core, this is an organ, I'm right? And it glows in 7 colors, which is, builds upon Staryu. It does it when it's unleashing psychic powers. That's cool. It's like a strobe. It's like a psychic strobe. I think that's A tier as well. Good job, Starmie. Well done. Alright, here we go. We're getting into the good ones now. Mr. Mime. The broadness of its hands may be no coincidence. Many scientists believe its palms became enlarged specifically for pantomiming. It's funny it evolved specifically to be a mime. But it's so unique and so weird. I want more vibrant detail. But it's still so good. I have to put it in B tier just because it was bred to be a mime, which is hilarious to me. Scyther. As Scyther fights more and more battles, its sides become sharper and sharper. With a single slice, Scyther can fell a massive tree. Imagine getting attacked by one of these. That would be just horrifying. It can fell a massive tree, so it can easily fell me. That's detail that I really like. They sharpen as it battles, and it can chop down a tree. A tier. Here we go. Jinx. In certain parts of Galar, Jinx was once feared and worshipped as the Queen of Ice. I don't like Jinx, but this is really, really cool. I guess it's hard because Jinx is like so controversial to say anything about it. It's just so weird. I want to put it low because it's so weird, but this is very interesting. I'm gonna say high B, the top of B. Maybe it should be higher than that, but I don't know. I would love to hear more. Like, what? Tell me more, you know? Electabuzz. Many power plants keep ground-type Pokemon around as a defense against Electabuzz that come seeking electricity. What a scary monster. You have to keep a defense against this guy because he's so hungry. He just gobbles electricity up. He just eats it up. C tier. That's fine. Oops. Magmar. Magmar dispatches its prey with fire, but it regrets this habit once it realizes that it has burned its intended prey to a charred crisp. So does this happen like all the time, or my guy is always overcooking his food? It's pretty funny. I'm gonna say B tier. Pinsir. These Pokemon judge one another based off of their pincers. Thicker, more impressive pincers make for more popularity with the opposite gender. So this is just, societal stereotypes. Am I supposed to reward that? Like the bigger the better? Come on. It's 2021. It makes sense though. I'm just gonna say C. I think it's C. Tauros. When Tauros begins whipping itself with tails, it's a warning that this Pokemon is about to charge with astounding speed. This one's pretty bad. It sticks out as bad because this is normal behavior. Maybe if it ran like as much as Arcanine did, I would put it really high up, but I'm gonna say D tier. Magikarp. It is virtually worthless in terms of both power and speed. It is the most weak and pathetic Pokemon in the world. I like how they just go in on Magikarp. I mean, there's nothing else to really say. It's a lame one, but it's supposed to be. And for that, I'm gonna say S tier. It's just like, it knows who it is, Gyarados. It has an extremely aggressive nature. The Hyper Beam it shoots from its mouth totally incinerates all targets. Really good, but lesser than Magikarp's. Magikarp has a very clear identity that fits with what it is. Gyarados does as well, but I feel like it's a more textbook identity to me. Like Magikarp is the underdog, and it gets to evolve into Gyarados, but Gyarados is just Gyarados that's hyper aggressive and scary. Still A tier because it incinerates anything with a Hyper Beam, but Magikarp is better. It's a better entry. Lapras, a smart and kind-hearted Pokemon. It glides across the surface of the sea while its beautiful song echoes around it. I like the change of pace. It being smart and kind-hearted, and just kind of like a voyager on the sea. I wonder what the point of the song is. The song echoes around it, so it sings the song, or just has like a boombox with it. I love Lapras. I'm gonna say B tier. Ditto. It can reconstitute its entire cellular structure to change it to what it sees, but it returns into normal when it relaxes. I feel like this is just Ditto, It's good because it's Ditto, and Ditto's so unique. The most vanilla design ever, but it's supposed to be because it's supposed to be able to transform. I think this one, it's a tough one to rate. I'm gonna put it in B because of Ditto. You can't really make, I feel like, an entry. I mean, I guess if you describe what the transformation's like after, and what happens like while it's transformed, or what it's like, you could, but it's tough to make Ditto, you know, anything crazy or anything bad, because it's Ditto and it's so interesting, but it's also the same thing every time. So all right, Eevee. It has the ability to alter the composition of its body to suit its surrounding environment. Same as Ditto. On paper, it's really cool, but because we know Eevee and we know the evolutions, and that's like, it just like you're locked into an evolution, it loses a little bit of luster for me. I'm still gonna say B tier though. It reminds me a lot of Dittos, so it's still good. But all right, Vaporeon. When Vaporeon's fins begin to vibrate, it is a sign that rain will come within a few hours. I like how this isn't just, you know, Vaporeon's a strong swimmer and it has these ears for, you know, to hear underwater. It's a mermaid tail. Cool. It's like, yeah, it can predict the weather, which is a welcome detail that deserves an A tier. All right, Jolteon. If it is angered or startled, the fur all over its body bristles like sharp needles that pierce foes. Kind of weak. Nothing like Vaporeon can predict the weather, and this guy just kind of has sharp fur. That's a pretty poor one. I mean, no mention of like the electricity or anything like that. I'm gonna say D. Flareon. Once it has stored up enough heat, this Pokemon's body temperature can reach up to 1700 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh man, it's got a number, but that's it. It just gets hot. It's just like a stove. B tier. Great, you know, fact. Also, they look so similar. Cool that it, you know, that it heats up and it tells you that information. Tell me more about that information. Like, what does it do with that? What is that powerful enough to like burn to a crisp? Probably, you know, most things. Okay, Porygon. State-of-the-art technology was used to create Porygon. It was the first artificial Pokemon to be created via computer programming. I almost messed that up. I think Porygon's an S tier. I think it's so unique, and the fact that it is man-made. Nothing else really has that via computer programming. Like, it's so cool. How did that come to be? I have good questions, you know? Not negative ones, but good ones. Ammonite. Because some Ammonite manage to escape after being restored or are released into the wild by people, this species is becoming a problem. It's cool. It's a detail that I wasn't exactly expecting because, I mean, it's revitalized from a fossil, but it's talking about, I mean, its revitalization instead of like the past, right? Instead of like how it became extinct or, you know, how it got revitalized, now it's like overpopulating because there's too many of them, which I think is great. I think that the fossil ones are probably pretty good because there's a lot to work with. I'm gonna say A tier. Omastar. Weighed down by a large and heavy shell, Omastar couldn't move very fast. Some say it went extinct because it was unable to catch food. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give it an A tier just because it explained how it went extinct, but it's such an interesting part of like the life cycle of the whole species, right? It explains every reason why. I mean, some say, so it's like just a theory, but that might even make it better. I'm gonna say A tier for this little guy too. They're right next to each other. Kabuto. This species is almost entirely extinct. Kabuto molt every 3 days, making their shells harder and harder. This one is lackluster compared to the last two. It's almost entirely extinct. Like, tell me why. Omastar told me why. Why can't you? And the molting of the shell doesn't do much, so I'm gonna say D tier. Kabutops. Kabutops slices its prey apart and sucks out the fluids. The discarded body parts become food for other Pokemon. That's pretty morbid. Slices its prey apart and sucks out the fluids. That's intense. I'm gonna say A tier, I think. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Only Kabuto didn't make it into A tier. I knew that the fossil ones were gonna be good. Oh, here's another one. Forgot about this guy, Aerodactyl. This is a ferocious Pokemon from ancient times. Okay. Apparently, even modern technology is incapable of producing a perfectly restored specimen. I think this one's A tier too. I wonder what the perfectly restored specimen looks like. Again, it leaves me with good questions. The fossil ones are solid. It's hard to mess those up. Snorlax. It is not satisfied until it eats over 880 pounds of food every day. When it's done eating, it goes promptly to sleep. This one's iconic. His whole like identity is wrapped up in this, and does a great job explaining. I do think that this is S tier, actually. I think Snorlax is, it's perfect, right? I mean, nobody else is like has the same personality and, you know, behavior as he does. Articuno. It's said that this Pokemon's beautiful blue wings are made of ice. Articuno flies over snowy mountains, its long tail fluttering along behind it. Its wings being made of ice is the best part of this. Flying over snowy mountains, you'd expect that. Long tail fluttering. Yeah, pretty standard stuff. I'm gonna say C tier. It's not, breaking the mold in any way. Like, it's a legendary ice bird. Why? Give me some more. Zapdos. This Pokemon has complete control over electricity. Here we go. There are tales of Zapdos nesting in the dark depths of pitch black thunderclouds. This is awesome. This is an S tier. This might be one of the best ones so far. I'm gonna put it like all the way up here too. That's so cool. Nesting in dark depths of pitch black thundercloud, has complete control over electricity. That is amazing. S tier for sure. Moltres. It's one of the legendary bird Pokemon. When Moltres flaps its flaming wings, they glimmer with a dazzling red glow. This is the worst of the three. In fact, I think it's F tier. This is, like it said it. It's a legendary bird Pokemon. If you have to start out with that, I feel like you're already off to a bad start, because you could say so much about Zapdos that it, nests in thunderclouds and that has complete control over electricity. This is just a legendary bird Pokemon that has red wings. Like, I want more to work with, 100%. I'm not getting anything from this. Dratini. Dratini dwells near bodies of rapidly flowing water, such as the plunge pools of waterfalls. As it grows, Dratini will shed its skin many times. Pretty weak for the dragon type. The one in this generation, it sheds its skin and lives near water. I'm gonna say D tier. Not a lot going on for such a unique little guy. Dragonair. This Pokemon lives in pristine oceans and lakes. It can control the weather and uses this power to fly into the sky riding on wind. So almost, like they had us in the first half. Almost really bad with lives pristine oceans and lake. Just as bad as Dratini. But then it can control the weather and it can fly on the wind. Fly on the wind. S tier. That's crazy. I mean, just imagine that, right? That's just wild. Alright, Dragonite. It is a kind-hearted Pokemon. If it spots a drowning person or Pokemon, Dragonite simply must help them. I think that it simply must. Like, it has to. Definitely helps. It's not as good as Dragonair's. Now I guess I understand why it's called Dragonair. Love the kind-heartedness for, like, this big, like, a dragon, like a 7-foot dragon. I'm gonna say A tier. I might be a bit biased, but Dragonite's like one of my all-time favorites. So. Okay, we're down to the final few. Mewtwo. Its DNA is almost the same as Mew's, however, its size and disposition are vastly different. This one's pretty weak. If you're a legendary, you have a lot to live up to. Its DNA being the same is super interesting, like, regarding the origin story. It's not enough, though. It does not explain enough. It doesn't explain that it's like a clone and it was made after Mew as like a successor. Its DNA being the same, if you didn't know, then you could assume that it wasn't a huge deal. And then its size and disposition being different is like nothing. I'm gonna say that's a D tier. I want to say top of D tier because the DNA thing, it gives you a little bit. It leaves a lot to be desired, but then the rest is like nothing. And then Mew, this is it. When viewed through a microscope, this Pokemon's short, fine, delicate hair can be seen. This one's really bad. This one's pretty bad. I'm gonna say F tier, actually. For what's supposed to be, like, isn't this, like, the origin of all Pokemon or something? It's like, it was, like, the first. I don't know what its deal is, but it's super rare, right? Like, no one's ever seen him. But the best thing they can say about it is that its short, fine hair can be seen through a microscope. Like, you could say that about probably every other thing that has hair on this list. I don't understand why they'd go such a bad one for Mew, but that's such a disappointment because Mew's really cool and there's a lot of mystery surrounding it, but they didn't tap into any of that here, so it's kind of a bummer. Alright, that took forever, and I don't know if I'm going to be talking for the rest of the day, but this is the list. All the way down. I didn't do the megas, obviously. All the way down to F from S. This was really fun. If we want to do more, we can do more. We can also do like the alternate versions. This Pokemon gathers power in the orbs on its tail and controls the weather. When enshrouded by an aura, Dragonair has mystical appearance. That's really cool. I think that might also be S tier. So we could do that too. It explains the orbs too. This video is probably gonna be like an hour and a half long, but I had a lot of fun doing it. If you made it to the end, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.